Do you have a favorite color?
Do you ever feel a mood shift as you try to pick the perfect color on an LED light strip?
Are you drawn to certain colors and shades when it comes to picking out a paint or some clothes?
Do you think colors can influence you? Let's talk about it. Welcome to another episode of Deep Dive Disorder. We're your hosts. I'm Brie.
And I'm Jean, and today we're going to be talking about a small part of color theory. How do colors affect our emotions? Let's chat about it for a second. So in order to fully understand the colors and like what we're going to be talking about and how they affect our emotions, we need to talk about the history of color and really understand how we got there. Over 40,000 years ago, a combination of chalk, soil, animal fat, and burnt charcoal allowed artists to form the earliest record of pigmentations that we know. This created a base of 5 colors, which would be the foundation for years. And those colors are black, white, red, yellow, and brown.
Wait, black, white, yellow, red,
And brown.
Wait, but in science we learned about Roy G. Biv, the color spectrum. Where did we get orange, blue, and indigo?
Okay, so the nice fun thing about that is most of our history when it comes to color, a good chunk of advancements towards colors came from the Renaissance period area. Specifically the Impression movement or the Impressionism movement, where new pigmentations were discovered in every era, and literally it was like a new age of pigmentations. I know certain shades of red came from that era, certain shades of blue, green, and yellow came from that era, and those are the ones that we are more accommodating towards. You can go to any Michael's and find like a whole entire rainbow of colors. Our friend Weston, who loves making bracelets and stuff, has a we'll put a picture up, but he is certainly color organized to the fullest.
It's beautiful. It's
yes.
all beads.
It's all beads. It's a beautiful display.
Beautiful.
But despite the traditional rhymes and songs that we learned about the colors of the rainbow, there are in fact no pure colors, as they're all kind of a blend of one single continuous spectrum, so to speak. It's just that spectrum kind of zoomed in on. In 1704, the rainbow was perceived to be only 5 colors until Sir Isaac Newton decided that he wanted to add indigo and orange, as he was obsessed with the number 7 and its properties.
Wait, why did he added a color? He added 2 colors?
He added two more colors to the rainbow.
Colors. Oh my God.
Homeboy really sat up one day and said, you know what? I need more. And then he was just like, I'm going to add these officially to the rainbow. Officially, entirely. And a lot of other scientists during that time period were like, bro, what? And now we use it all the time.
Oh my gosh. That is insane.
Yes. And from the Renaissance era, many, many years after that, color television was developed through several milestones, starting with John Logie Bird's mechanical color demonstration in 1928. And then Guillermo Gonzalez Camarines in 1940 created and adapted a chromoscopic adapter patent, and then launched commercial broadcasting via NTSC standard in December 1953. The first short film to ever be shot in color is actually a film called A Visit to the Seaside in 1908. However, a lot of people think that the famous movie The Wizard of Oz was the first movie to be shot in color. That is actually not true. I don't know how that became a thing.
It's because it was in the middle of one of its broadcasts, or like its very first broadcast, the entire television was like switching over to color.
Oh, yes.
So it kind of like created this whole moment for the show, for like the movie.
It absolutely did create a moment. And it is, to our knowledge, or at least to my knowledge and my limited research, it's the only movie to be shot the way that it is during that time period, where half of it is sepia and the other half is in full Technicolor. It also is very famous for the use of its Technicolor, so I kind of understand how we got to that a strange theory that it was the first movie to do that, but it actually was not. And then in 1988, the famous anime movie Akira made over 50 new colors, dude, to make the movie. They had to make 50 new color shades, and in total, they used over 327 colors just to make this movie.
They made 50 color shades?
They made 50 new color shades just for the movie Akira. And
I'm going to need that list after we're done here, because that is impressive.
I think you can pull it up somewhere on the internet. You can probably Google it, but they made 50 new shades and you can actually like kind of look at it. But now when you go and watch it, it's actually kind of crazy to think that like, someone really sat there and made 50 new fucking colors for this.
They made 50 colors for this one project. That's insane. I can't believe that.
Yeah. Isn't it great?
That's amazing. And in this theory, we're going to be talking about how all of the colors kind of have different emotions with it, which is probably why I can't say that name. Akira. What did you just say?
Akira?
Akira.
Yes.
That's it. Akira. The 50 new shades were to invoke different emotions for their viewers. And so one of the things that I love to think of when it comes to color theory, because I learned about this in a psychology class at one point, is walking into one of my old therapist's office. Her office was supposed to feel like you were at the ocean. It had like blues and teals. It had seashells. It had nice little wave paintings on the walls. And blue is known to make people calm. And that's the reason why my therapist chose that color. I commented on it one day. I was like, I love that you chose this color. It's such a good color for your office. And she said, actually, one guy tried to come to me as a patient and he hated this color. It made him anxious. He didn't feel calm at all. He actually ended up having to stop coming to my therapy office, not for any reason of her own or like anything bad.
It was truly just the color.
It was just the color made him so uncomfortable to be there that he couldn't physically go to her office or like be around it, because like the blue was everywhere in her office.
Oh my God.
But also the carpet gave me a migraine, so I don't blame her for having a bright blue carpet. But yeah.
Honestly, yeah.
So that's one of my first things with the whole color theory and how that works.
Well, except for on that one guy, apparently.
Yeah, apparently. He did not like that color blue. But that's not the only instance that I have learned that we end up using color when it comes to people's psychology and influence. Have you ever questioned why fast food places kind of have the same color schemes? Wendy's, McDonald's, KFC, In-N-Out? Well, generally that's because of colors and how we perceive them and what our brains have perceived throughout history with colors, and why we can see the full spectrum of color that we can versus, I think it's like lizards who can see basically 300 and some odd colors or whatever, because it's insane. And the psychology has found that we naturally associate some of our emotions with colors, like blue is calm, red is kind of I like to call it a high energy color because it goes one end or the other of the spectrum. It's kind of cool to see how those colors are presented throughout history.
Oh, yeah. And also throughout history, we have assigned color to things like your status, your class, and even gender. Like, for example, let's talk about red real quick. In most languages, red is used as like a color that is supposed to be kind of like, it kind of symbolizes blood. It evokes like strength and fragility and things like that. It was also one of like the first colors after black and white to be named. And so it's just one of those things where like throughout history, we've kind of like likened it and attached it to certain themes and parts of our culture, like the Pope. The Pope has like many, I don't know what they're called, dressings. I haven't been to church in a minute, but he has many dressings and things, like his hat has like red brimming and everything around it. And so things like that. Also engravings from like over
And he wears
70
an all white getup on
Yes.
very special occasions.
very special occasions. And 7,500 years ago, most of like those cave drawings and everything, those are in red.
Oh my gosh. And what's cool about red is, as I mentioned with fast food, red has been proven because of its brightness, it is attributed to catching attention. And the theory is because the color red is kind of the color of blood, our brains recognize the danger of red, essentially. And that's why, like, in early times, red tomatoes, apples were all considered poisonous, which at one point they probably were poisonous, and then we bred them to not be poisonous to us.
Or we just developed
Associated it with red because of blood, and to us, blood meant death.
Yeah.
Whether it was us dying or animals dying, blood meant death. And that's kind of why it catches our eye more and maybe even causes an increase in appetite, which is where fast food typically likes to use red to catch your eye and to kind of make you a little hungry because, well, back in caveman times, we'd go out, we'd kill an animal, it would bleed. That would trigger something in our brain to be like, I'm kind of hungry. Take it back to camp. Cook the thing right there.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And then since life has happened, so that's kind of why I think we associate it with hunger in a sense, is in our brains and like the very caveman primitive parts. It has always been, this is when we're going to go eat a meal, is the red blood that comes out of the animal, right? And like what's kind of cool about red is we also kind of associate it with death, which the movie with Sandra Bullock called Premonition, it uses red to symbolize death. The Red and the Crows. I have not seen that movie in forever, but the director has come out and said, no, the color red is supposed to symbolize death throughout the movie. And if you notice, it's used in a way that you kind of notice more and more as you get closer to the end.
Oh my God, Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein with Jacob Elordi and Oscar Isaac.
Mm-hmm.
Red is used as a huge symbol throughout that whole movie, and it's actually a really like fun detail. It's like it's very like but it's like so subtle that if you miss it, you miss it.
Exactly, and that's how Premonition was as well. And then the other thing with red as, and the reason why I call it a high energy color is not just like death and blood and that and the aggression that comes from killing and being on the hunt and the adrenaline rush. It also kind of comes and swings to the side of love and passion. And Valentine's Day, I think, had a big proponent of this, actually.
Probably.
I don't know if red has always meant that, but in today's society, red is very much love, passion, sex appeal, all of those things. And it's just really cool to kind of see how it's used and the different shades. And we're definitely going to go into shades later with all the colors and how they're all used in different areas of our lives to show stuff and to really bring out what whoever wants you to feel.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then I also would like to add for the witchy people out there, it represents fire and passion because fire grows passion.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's why I just call this a high energy color because it's 0 or 100 with this color, one way of the pendulum or the other.
So with yellow, I know there's probably a lot more historical stuff when it comes to yellow, but the most common thing that comes up for yellow is it's the state flower of Kansas, the sunflower, inspired by suffragette movement. Yellow ribbons are to represent those who have been like absent during war or missing during World War I or have fallen due to like being in battle and things like that. And that's why you see those red ribbons wrapped around trees and things like that to represent like, hey, this is for my fallen soldier.
Yeah, I remember that. And then I also know that like yellow is associated with like the sun and the sun god Apollo, which is music and happiness and whatnot. And that kind of goes into like what many people associate with yellow, which is like enthusiasm, brightness, optimism. They love that the sun rises and it's yellow and coming from the darkest of the night, you know? Yellow helps with creativity, clarity when the brain is a mess. It promotes logic over emotion when it's used in a certain way. And this is why like you'll see it used in like IKEA and different kind of brands that are trying to show that their product, yeah, like Best Buy, where it's like they use blue and yellow to specifically show like, hey, this is reliable. This is logic over an emotional buy,
Hmm.
right? So that's kind of the cool part with specific yellows. But the thing with yellow is it can also cause too much anxiety if you are consistently surrounded by it and a lot of it. And I know this because I love my cousin dearly. But when I was a young autistic girl who didn't know that she was autistic, my cousin painted her room bright sun yellow.
Oh.
Her whole room, every single wall was bright sun yellow. And I could not stand her room. It made me so uncomfortable to be in there. And she loved it. That was her favorite color. And at the time, it was like, that's cool that that's your favorite color. I don't like being in your room. I'm sorry. So I spent like
Oh.
the entire time at their house just avoiding my cousin's room at all costs. And I feel so bad about it. But also, not a whole room. You know, I have a yellow wall, but my yellow wall is tasteful.
You know, a whole
Okay.
yellow room, I don't think I could do.
Yellow wall's not tasteful for one. Amazon also, their entire warehouse covered in yellow. I worked there for like a whole year.
Wait, like the
Miserable.
whole inside where you're working?
Not the whole inside, not like the walls and stuff, but there's a lot of like different like the conveyor belts, the different like levels where people are working. A
Oh.
lot of fucking yellow.
Mm.
It sucked.
And that's also because yellow has been associated with safety in the United States.
Mhm.
In most other places, they typically use green for safety or like different types of colors to kind of say, hey, this is a safe area. But, or like, hey, watch out. But in the United States, we use yellow because it's very bright. And so with all those conveyor belts, they might have even created it so that it was seeable. But being surrounded by so much yellow, it really hurts your mood. And then the next color that is associated with yellow is orange, because it fits right in between red and yellow. And if you mix the paints, that's what they do, right? Super fun and exciting. It's known for its ability to stimulate the senses, boost energy levels, and encourages socialization. It can also mean safety as well, like orange safety vests,
Mhm.
orange work outfits.
Those construction cones we see every summer.
Exactly, because we live in Utah and they're just here year round sometimes even. Yay us.
Our unfortunate choice of a president.
Orange, what's kind of crazy about this color when psychologists
I'm
use
sorry.
it. But yeah, so like the crazy part about orange is when we were doing a bunch of tests with different colors in psychology, orange was one that was kind of, it definitely brought out bright feelings, kind of like the same high energy that red does and the
Mhm.
enthusiasm that yellow brings. But also when you pair it with different colors, it actually works to either contradict or complement, and it brings a whole new meaning to orange, but it brightens whatever color it is. So whenever you see like blue and orange together, I don't remember which place has this as like their logo. I see it. I want to say it's White Castle, but I think I'm wrong. It's to kind of bring up like that really happy but also mellow vibe to make you be like, oh, this seems like a cool, trendy place to
Are
go
you thinking
eat.
of Popeyes?
It might be Popeyes. It's
Popeyes is orange.
There's something that's orange and blue though, specifically a brand.
White Castle is white, yellow, blue, I think.
I thought they were orange. I don't fucking know.
I think Dave and Buster's is blue, orange.
Dave and Buster's. That's where I was thinking of. The fact that Dave and Buster's is supposed to feel like a cool place to hang out, a trendy place to be. And that's because they use blue and orange in their logo, right? And so that's kind of where orange, depending on its shade, also can increase enthusiasm. What's crazy about orange is the emotion depends on what's surrounding it. Like I explained, the best place to explain it is in prisons. When you see orange around all the gray that is in a prison, and we'll get into more of like prisons and the color theory that they use later on in life. But what's kind of cool is like you can tell that the orange is supposed to be like, hey, watch out for these people. It's supposed to be a sign of safety, like an orange safety cone, right? But that doesn't necessarily help the prisoners because of them wearing it. It actually heightens their emotions and heightens their enthusiasm. The other thing is you'll see if you ever look at that specific jumpsuit orange you can find that orange in a sunset. So if you think jumpsuit orange is ugly, it's been in a sunset at one time in your life where you said, that is the prettiest sunset I've ever seen.
Yeah, but the sunset colors, the sunset orange is surrounded by other beautiful colors.
Exactly. And that's what makes orange such a unique and beautiful color. Where when it's surrounded by beautiful colors that really accentuates its features, it's beautiful. When it's surrounded by colors that sucks at accentuating it, it sucks.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the fun thing about orange.
All right, so green, typical associations with green kind of relate to nature and the world, Mother Earth, and things like that. It has also kind of picked up, other unconventional things such as like illness, jealousy, poison sometimes, green pea soup, which I don't care who the fuck you think you are. That shit is disgusting.
Nasty.
Awful.
Gross. It
Anyways.
looks like someone ate it and then threw it up and handed it to me warm.
Absolutely, yes. And so green is kind of like it's kind of a double-edged sword where like part of it represents like illness, poisons, and things like that, and the other half represents like earth and life and like greenery and things like that. Because most of our trees are green, and so we associate that with being like, oh, this is healthy. This is a good thing. That's why your stores like Sprouts and fucking what's the other one? Whole Foods. Their signs are green. They're trying to emphasize, hey, this is where you get your healthy shit.
Mhm.
Not nowadays. The lettuce is bad, kids.
The lettuce is terrible.
The lettuce is bad. But the latter association actually kind of comes from this color, this pigment called Scheele's green, which was invented in 1775, which uses for dyes and paints such as like carpets or paints for carpets, fabrics, wallpaper, ballroom gowns, and certain other like decorations and things like that.
That is so cool. And also
Yeah.
Disney green.
Disney green.
That's an icon.
That is an icon. If you don't know what Disney green is, hit the Reddit, kids.
Hit the Reddit, and I will also put a picture to give an idea of what Disney green is, but you go down that Reddit hole yourself. So green is typically seen as a grounding color because of nature and how we've associated it. And it's also kind of seen as a grounding color because our eyes have more green codes in them for most people.
Mm-hmm.
It has more green cones in it, so your eyes relax more when you're around green versus when you're around other colors where your eyes are more drawn to them in an environment. And so it's kind of really cool where green kind of brings peace, stability, enhancing. It's been proven if you're in a hospital where the window has a view to greenery, you are much more likely to heal better and to feel healthy. This is why VIP wings always have windows, but the rest of us normies never get them.
Mm-hmm. And that's why people like going out into nature so much. And that's why camping is so much fun. It's relaxing.
It is relaxing
For
until
some people.
you run out of toilet paper and you're overstimulated because it's too hot.
Yes.
That's me.
Yes, yes.
I'm the one who gets overstimulated when it's too hot.
And then there's blue. So in ancient Greek, Japan, and in Hebrew, there was no name for the color blue yet. And so blue was kind of considered like an extension of green. It was just like another type of green. So I think from like green, I think we ended up at teal maybe, or seafoam probably. And then we ended up towards blue, so to speak.
Maybe even like a minty green.
Somewhere along those lines,
that
yeah.
maybe got mixed with some blue at some point. Because I could see a mint green turning more into a tealish turquoisey.
Yeah, something
color.
like along those lines. But even today, there are several languages, including like Korean, Vietnamese, and Thai, where like the blue-green kind of just blurs a little bit. The color blue has a worldwide popularity to be like, it's supposed to be like a calming effect of some sort, right? Like people use it to like, oh, this is supposed to represent like, ooh, like you said about like the therapy office, where it's like, you're supposed to meditate, chill, and relax, and things like that. A fun fact. There's this magical color known as the bluest blue. So this bluest blue was discovered by accident. In 2009, a chemist at Oregon State University and his student accidentally made this color, and they call it YINMN blue. It's supposed to be the bluest blue, but it was discovered by accident while they were in the chemistry lab. And I'm not sure how to explain it. All I know is like a few things fell into the pot. Some things kind of like got really heated. And now we have the bluest blue known to man.
Wow.
Yeah, we'll put a photo up of it, but it's supposedly the bluest blue.
We will. That's so impressive and so cool.
It is.
We discovered the bluest blue in history.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love that.
In 2009, not too long ago, my man. We were, what, 10?
Yeah. That's amazing.
Ooh, we just aged ourselves a little bit.
You're welcome, internet. When you think of blue, like I mentioned about my therapist's office, you typically think of the ocean, which has usually a calming effect, unless you hate sand or other aspects of the ocean. Understandable. So that's kind of where you maybe want to vacation, where it's calm on a blue beach, maybe in Malaysia, maybe when you retire.
One day, maybe.
One day, maybe.
If our generation's able to do that. But no, I totally get that. Most people's
You did
favorite
not catch the reference.
What are you talking about?
Nanami
Girl? Hey.
I literally put it in there that way so that you could maybe catch it.
We need a timeout.
Please stand by.
Hold on. Because I got stabbed in the back by my wife. It's all ADHD until she has an ulterior motive.
Calm ocean, sandy beach, like going on retirement to Malaysia. It really helps with like this calm, tranquil, serenity vibe that just makes you want to relax and enjoy your time. And that's kind of where blue is different, because the different shades of blue really mean different things. So in industries, dark blue is typically used for like your law firms, your finance firms, stuff where there's going to be a lot of prestige and money behind it, right? And then like you'll see kind of like a light medium-ish blue in the medical field and in education more.
Oh my god, like on Grey's Anatomy where like they all wear the light blue scrubs.
Yep.
Oh my god. Sorry.
No, exactly. That's the reason
Oh my God.
why they wear
I just
those
saw
light blue
McSteamy
ones
in my head and I was like,
versus the dark blue ones where that shows prestige.
yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the green for surgical, because it kind of calms the patient going into surgery, right? Or it
Yeah.
calms the parents when they see them trying to be like, your kid's dead or whatever. I don't know Grey's Anatomy that well, but I do know that happens quite a bit. So that's kind of where blue is proven to make attention to detail, and it's in witchcraft, it's associated with like the water and emotions and how the flow of life goes and how we all need water to survive. And it's truly, blue is just seen as an essence, really. And that's what kind of makes it really cool. And then for really light blue, like a light, fun blue, sky blue even, that's typically more for texting. So like Twitter and all of them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The blue bubbles on your iPhone.
Yep, that's for the texting and being like, hey, we're innovative, we're different, we're new, even though at this point it's like everyone is doing it. So
Yeah.
they all look the same.
And then there's pink. So although we see pink as a predominantly feminine color, this is relatively recent. During the 19th and 20th century, it was actually quite the opposite. So pink was for boys, blue was for girls. Pink was used for boys and blue was used for girls as a perception of if you were a man, you would typically wear red, because red was seen as more as a masculine color. And so hypothetically speaking, if Bartholomew, our wonderful director and cameraman and producer, had a son, he would dress his son in pink, probably matching pink flamingo shorts, or something like that. Whereas like girls would be wearing like blue, or women would be wearing like deep blues, light blues, and it would be kind of more associated with the Virgin Mary's cloak. You know how like there's that one famous painting where like Mary's there and she has that one thing on the blue,
white,
yeah,
and then the blue.
Which that color has been portrayed since like the 6th century AD. And it wasn't until like about like the 1950s that pink was reassigned as like a feminine color.
Yeah, I remember looking it up and it was like mid 20th century and it was like, yeah, that fits.
Yeah, it's pretty recent.
It's really recent, but pink has been known to just kind of be a more soft, naive color, like baby blue is typically as well seen as a soft and naive color. And that's kind of why we've associated it with children, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where pink is also seen as a loving color. But there is a pink called the Barker Miller pink, and this or Baker Miller pink. And this pink was specifically studied and designed to see how pink could calm someone down in a professional setting. And this is why some prison cells actually had pink in them for a while. And there's a football team. Give me a second. Let me find it. University of Iowa's Kinnick Stadium visitor locker has this color in it to this day. And it's a very like palish light pink, but it's still very pink. And it's supposed to kind of calm violence and aggression for a short time, roughly about 15 to 30 minutes. And that's why in older hospitals, I think when this color became popular in 1979, a lot of hospitals like mental hospitals, psychiatric hospitals had been using this color heavily in their facilities. And so at prisons. And over time, this color was just so integrated. It was up until they did more studies on if the color actually calms or not, that with a prison, that they realized that this color actually doesn't calm. It does it for the 15 to 30 minutes, like I mentioned, but it actually increases aggression.
Oh.
So if you're in that color for longer than 15 to 30 minutes, up to maybe an hour, depending on life and whatnot, you are going to get more antsy and aggressive, and it's actually not a good color. They found that in the prison that I mentioned. They ended up finding that the color would, so that's kind of where they found that this isn't a really good color to be using in these situations. So they've had to like revert a lot. And a lot of the hospitals, like you'll still see the pink a little bit in a bathroom, because that's where I see it the most whenever I'm at the hospital, is oddly enough, you walk into the bathroom and it's pink.
Oh,
yeah.
shit.
That's the pink.
Oh,
yeah. When I first learned about the color and I walked into a hospital bathroom, I went, oh, that's the pink, because nobody really cares to renovate a bathroom.
nobody does.
Nobody does. So that's kind of really cool. And then, like I said about Iowa, and then a jail. I don't know if this is the specific jail that was used in the study or not, but there's in Arizona named Maricopa County Jail. To combat aggression, they actually ended up using this pink. This might have been the prison that was used in the study, but I don't know for sure. The only thing I do know is that this prison does make their inmates wear this colored pink in their underwear. Is insane.
Which means at some point a bunch of dudes in suits
Mhm.
sat around a table and agreed to this idea. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
To know what the American tax dollars are going towards.
Pink underwear.
All right. Well, from pink, we have purple. So the main factor in purple becoming a dominant color is actually linked to royalty. It was simply due to its high cost. So purple was actually like super expensive back in the day. And so it was only reserved for like your royal of royalties. You know what I mean? So it was very much set aside for figures such as Cleopatra, Nero. Julius Caesar wore purple. I know often in like history depictions, we have him in like the white toga and the red drape of sorts.
Mhm.
But in reality, he would have worn purple quite frequently. But it was also a significant tradition that eventually the dictated purple would also be worn by royalty, but also promoted colors for like honor and things like that. Like, for example, like we have like the Purple Heart.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so it's like, it's one of those things where it's like a very honorable color.
It is a very honorable color. But because of all of this, there's such a mystery behind purple. And even the history of how purple was originally founded ended up making it a mysterious color as well. And so that's kind of where it's become a color of mystery. It brings the high energy of red and the tranquility of blue to really make it an introspective color and very contemplative. So like this is why like in spirituality they typically use it to associate it with like a higher being or a higher level of self. I think I don't remember what this chakra is called. The crown chakra is technically represented with purple to represent your higher self. And so that's
Hmm.
kind of where a lot of people have used purple for that reason. It's associated with creativity, imagination. It's been seen for courage, like you said, with the purple heart, and it really just kind of has become in uh in modern day, it's become spiritual and very individuality, knowing who you are and whatnot. In business, purple is seen usually as like a premium service or a specialty, typically used in creative fields.
Oh yeah.
We use purple and pink for the softness and naivete and playfulness that pink is. So that was the we didn't even realize it when we picked the colors. We just went, this is the vibe. And oddly enough, both of the colors in this theory today have proven that that is the vibe. And then our next color is black. And black is kind of a odd color in itself, because black is typically seen as the color that absorbs all colors, right? And even in spirituality, it's seen as an absorption when you use black. It is to absorb negative energy. It is to absorb the energy that is around. It doesn't matter if it's good or it's bad. It's just going to absorb everything to create an open space for something new to come into it, right? And that kind of depth and void that is black gives it a lot of emotions and feelings depending on what's surrounding it and the context. So if you're wearing black to a black tie event, for example, typically that is seen as like elegant, sophisticated, very well mannered, mysterious even. But if you see it at a funeral, that means sad, melancholy, very depressing, and that's kind of where, or sometimes black can be used to express your individuality. I can't say it right now, but that's the word. It expresses that too when like you see goth and emo people using black in artistic ways to express themselves. And that's kind of what makes black a very interesting color, where it induces calmness, it induces anxiety, it induces like fear, it induces hope, it induces so many different things just depending on your context with black.
Oh my gosh, that reminds me. In the most recent season of Bridgerton, spoilers if you haven't seen Bridgerton, also what the fuck are you doing? But in Bridgerton, one of the costume designers, I think it was, or someone talking about the costumes, kind of broke down how like historically, Francesca being like a widow would go through phases of different like black clothing and how she would be wearing them for a certain period of time. Like she'd be wearing like black and the black veil, and then eventually would get to a gray sort of color.
Oh yeah, like a darkish charcoal.
Yeah, like a darkish charcoal, and then like eventually at some point she would reach a point where she would be allowed to wear color at some point. But if she started wearing colors like immediately, the rest of the town would be like, oh, she did not like her husband. You know what I mean? And that's also why also in that same season, what's her name? I think it's Lady. It's like the main villain. I can't remember her name.
Did you know that she's Cho Chang from Harry Potter, Goblet of Fire? That was crazy to me.
But no, she wears black because she's still in the mourning period of her husband, which is very interesting. And so that's what reminded me of that.
No, that is very interesting. And that's really cool. It was probably around like a lighter color of gray.
Yeah.
That they started being like, okay, you can wear color because we don't want you to look like a peasant now.
Oh, yes.
About black and like how it's been used in history and just how it's just become very versatile as a color. And the same can even be said with white, but in the opposite sense.
Oh, absolutely can be said within the opposite sense. Throughout history, white has been tied to religion for like almost the entire length of its existence. It has been tied to religion, associated with like purity. It's supposed to be worn by priestesses in ancient Rome, in Egypt. Today the Pope wears white. Also white in Iran, worn by Muslims, or the hijab during pilgrimage. In medieval art, a white unicorn is considered the symbol of Christ.
Oh.
Yeah. That was an interesting little tidbit in my research. I was like, oh, so unicorns are Jesus, or Jesus and the unicorns
that makes sense.
Chilling. Which also begs the question, Why have we not had art of Jesus riding in on a unicorn?
I think there is. I saw it on the internet at one point before AI.
Okay, that's important.
Before AI, I did see it on the internet and it was so cool. Was it photoshopped? Yes, to heavens. But if I could find it again, I would. But at this point, it's just going to be all AI.
Oh, absolutely, unfortunately. But it's seen as a symbol of like purity. Even in like Celtic mythology, it's seen as like innocence and purity. In Western culture, we often use it to like symbolize like when weddings happen, brides wear white because it's technically to symbolize that you're a virgin.
Mm-hmm.
So technically, hypothetically, not even hypothetically, you don't actually have to wear white on your wedding.
Nope.
So.
It's just more of a tradition at this point.
Yeah.
Crazy. Personally, I want to wear a blush gown if I can.
I think that would look super cute.
Right?
But the white wedding dress wasn't really like popularized or like really symbolized traditionally until like Queen Victoria got married in a white lace wedding dress, and then the trend really took off.
Yeah, I remember an Adam Ruins Everything episode about white and how the wedding dress, peasants never wore white wedding dresses. They may have wore like a cream colored dress just because they couldn't get their hands on the most pure white color, but they still wanted to wear something that represent purity in a sense. But like you mentioned, white represents purity, innocence, integrity. It's the reason why traditional brides wear white. Like you said, in spirituality, it is seen to absorb all of the colors and therefore all of its effects. So that's why it's seen as an intellectual color. It's seen as it to bring clarity. It's seen to really make things stand out. And that's kind of where white is it can either be very sterile, which is where when we talked about like the whole white room at the beginning of all of this being a possibility in life, that would actually drive someone crazy because that cleanliness, that sterileness, it just feels unreal, unnatural, even because white never shows up in nature like that. Like we have specks of it to kind of create depth and distance and to give us a feeling of some sort and this sort of clarity. But so that's where it's really cool. It represents precision. It can be emotionally distant and sterile, like I mentioned. And the same with white people. Let's be real here. I'm going to so cut this out, but I put that in there because I was like, no, actually, this is very insightful. Because if you think about white people, just being surrounded by white people really causes no depth. It is so dumb. No culture, no depth. There is no depth. And so if you have just that, but when you add in different cultures and technically different colors, not to be that person, but in theory, it brings more depth. It brings more color to a picture. So that's where I think being racist is bullshit because you're really missing out on learning so much and enjoying life. If you just surround yourself with the same color of like who you are as a person, even just like if you're a yellow person, a red person, a blue person, whatever, if you just stick with that, there's no depth to your painting.
Yeah.
That is your life.
So what you're saying is color in itself can be attributed to culture in a certain way. Like different cultures intermingling is what creates depth to society.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It creates depth to society. Thank you. White is boring. No, white isn't boring. White is beautiful when it's surrounded by a bunch of different colors to enhance its beauty. And that's what makes it cool. Brown is typically associated with resilience. It is seen as a very natural, down-to-earth color because of like tree barks and how trees hold strong with their roots and everything. Characteristic with brown is the fact that it's made up of orange, yellow, red, green, blue, purple. So if you mix brown with a certain, like with one of those colors just a little bit more, you actually get a different vibe. And I did go down that rabbit hole for like 5 seconds where I looked up different browns with different colors. And it really is like you get a different vibe from different browns. Like a purple brown is a very like sophisticated, it's very plummy looking, very deep chocolatey looking, and it's very sophisticated versus like a green brown, which looks like a baby's diarrhea.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where you have these different browns that really bring out these different emotions. And it's really cool to kind of just be able to see that with one color, just adding a little bit more of that shade to it, right? And the most fascinating thing about colors is the fact that not everyone sees colors the same way. Jean?
Yes. So, 90 years after Sir Isaac Newton added more colors to the rainbow, a new discovery about color had been discovered, or rather, the lack thereof. So, color blindness was officially scientifically described in 1794 by a chemist named John Dalton, who wrote a science paper about his own red-green color deficiency. And so he came to a realization that, like, hey, something's going on here. And so he decided to write a paper about it. And that's kind of how we started talking about color blindness overall. Having color blindness is a sign that there's something going on with the cones in your eyes. Everybody has 3 types of cones for seeing short, medium, and long wavelengths, which roughly correspond to blue, green, and red. It is common to have all 3 cones. It's just that some get more activated than others, and that's why we have different types of color blindness.
Really? I know, and this might be a little rude, but I know that you have color blindness.
Yes.
And I know that you've told me the kind of color blindness that you've had forever, but could you remind me the name of it?
No. So my color blindness, I have green-red color blindness, also known as deuteranopia, which basically just means the green cones in my eyes detect wavelengths that are too high. So on the red spectrum, so the color red activates both the green and red cones in my eyes. And so that's why sometimes the colors I perceive are actually more of like a yellow, tannish brown sort of color, so to speak. Like, I have a good spectrum of certain colors like blue, some purples. Pastels really fuck me up, I've discovered later on in my life. I once got into a really heated argument with my loving partner and Thunder Buddy over the color of a shirt while we were doing laundry. And approximately couple months later, he bought me chroma lenses, which are the colorblind glasses, and we haven't had an argument about laundry since then. But about 6.3% of men and 0.37% of women have color blindness. It kind of just depends on what type of color blindness you have. The most common ones are red-green or green-red. And then there's 2 others that are like pretty rare. The only exception is if you have no cones at all. That's when you have monotropia, which is where you actually see things in black and white, which is actually extremely rare for humans to have.
Wow.
But that's part of a theory we can cover for another day.
Mm-hmm. Whoa, that is so cool. And I remember learning about color blindness and like with women and how it has to be passed down in a science class in college.
Mm-hmm.
And in this specific science class, my teacher was like, yeah, so I had a female student who was colorblind. Her dad wasn't colorblind, but her mom has brothers that are colorblind. And when I went and discussed about how it works where you have to have a mom that has it on the X chromosome and a dad who is colorblind because they only have one X chromosome. That's why it's so rare in a woman to have it because we have 2. And he explained this to the girl and she said, that's not true. Later to find out her mother had an affair with the milkman. She came into class like 3 weeks later, just being like, yeah, you were right. My mom had an affair. So that's where this subject in science class you'll see someone's eyes. Oh, shit.
Oh, no. And we'll probably cover this theory a little bit later. I know what color blindness I have. I think my sister has a different type of color blindness.
Oh.
I think me and my dad are the same. And my sister just so happens to be a different type of color blindness.
Crazy.
So, yeah, it is a little weird. We haven't dived into it yet. But I know for a fact we might have different color blindness.
That's insane. So that's where, honestly, to end it with, it's crazy how color blindness actually affects colors and how the world is a different shade for you than it is for me. And how truly color blindness can affect probably the psychology of colors for you.
Oh, and we'll get into that later.
We will get into that into a different episode, but that's kind of where I wanted to be like, the psychology of color really has affected us since the dawn of time when we were drawing on the walls in caves.
Right? And it's so crazy to think that all of the colors and how we react to them, even though I see most of them in a different light, I'm still reacting to them the same way. Like they still have the same effect on colorblind people. Like color theory still very much affects colorblind people still. And so it's really interesting to see how this all kind of like intertwines and reacts.
No, dude, I think your color blindness and the information that you shared really taught me more about it. And I know that you've probably said this to me before, and I'm probably gonna have you explain it to me a billion more times before we're dead. Anyways, that's the psychology of color, and we appreciate you guys for joining us on this little adventure of learning how color affects us. And trust me, we will go into actual color theory and how colors affect you and how colors affect us and how they are used in our lives at a later date.
And how it affects people who can't see all colors. And we'll go over different types of color blindness and how the color theory might affect them. But until then, don't forget to send us your weird little theories at Deep Dive Disorder on TikTok and Instagram.
And remember our email at diagnoseddivedusorder@gmail.com. So this is it for this week. I'm Brie.
And I'm Jean. We'll see you next week.
Bye. 1 2 1 2
1 2 1 2 1 2. Red, yellow, yellow leather.
Red leather, yellow leather. Red leather, yellow leather. Red leather, yellow, yellow. To the tip of the teeth, to the tip of the tongue. From the tip of the teeth to the tip of the tongue. From the tip of the teeth to the tip of the tongue. Ma! Ma!
One of these days we should dress Matt up as Miss Jarvis from High School Musical.
Everybody!
Hey guys! Hey guys! We get him a pink clipboard.
All right, so the way that color actually relates to a conspiracy theory is the way that color is used in marketing kind of mind controls us into seeing and believing things. And in America, this is huge because we are a capitalistic society. Next color
is brown.
This is where it felt really awkward to put.
All right, Jean, your turn.
Technically, brown is mine.
Brown is hers in the script. Because I didn't look up the history of brown.
I just felt really awkward about like just being like,
White people suck. Anyway, so brown.
It's so brown.
Because I got stabbed in the back by my wife. Bridgerton. All of the families in the Bridgerton house and all the houses within like the Ton, every family has like its own color, so to speak. For example, the Featheringtons, for some strange reason, they lean more towards god-awful oranges.
And greens.
And so many greens and yellows.
Greenish yellow color that is not appealing unless it works for you.
Yeah. Whereas like the Bridgerton family wears more of your lilacs and your blues and your light purples. What's another family?
Crescenda? No. It starts with a C.
Oh, Cressida.
Cressida.
Cressida's an interesting case because her family
is black.
Her family wears black.
Pink.
Yeah, they wear blacks and grays, and her whole entire wardrobe is bright Polly Pocket Barbie pink. She is the Barbie of the Ton. She's very misplaced, and it's to show that she, even though she's related to these people by blood, she's not one with her family, so to speak. And so it was kind of like
use color so interesting in Bridgerton.
Oh yeah,
and I loved that about Bridgerton.
The way they use it. Kate and Dee Dee, season 2, they wear, the Sharma household wears a lot of like deep purples and oranges and teals. Like they really do rock teals. And then in season 3, when Kate gets married, she starts rocking more of like a teal, blue, green silhouette to match her husband, the Viscount of Bridgerton.
To show the merging of the two families. And same with Penelope, where like her colors went from like this really god-awful green to a really light turquoisey.
Oh no, remember color. They showed us season 1. Season 1, remember that god-awful Big Bird dress?
God-awful one. That haunts my memories.
It haunts my memories. We all remember when she got a makeover suddenly, and it wasn't even much of a makeover. Homegirl just needed to fix her color palette.
That was
Homegirl was all like, I am an autumn, and I need to dress like it.
That movie has slowly become my own obsession.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I think about it at least once a day.
It's also a really good movie, and I also like that the director specifies, like, no, it's not that the item is cursed. Bear's wish is cursed.
I mean, honestly, though,
you're paying for extended content.
Patreon, it's extended content. Feet may be included.
The foot might just be there. You know, we'll put that in parentheses. Feet might be included.
Big Dad's disorder, feet not included.
Because it's the closest thing we have to like time travel, so to speak. In history, if you were living in like the 6th century, you would think to yourself that people are definitely going to remember the year 1000. Not a lot of people were like educated and taught how to write, but back then they did have like calendars or date books. What if he was short-tempered and just a little guy?
Just a little guy.
Just a little guy.
Just a little guy. He could have just been a little king of the Franks. Claimed to be the father of Europe. In some articles, like on the history.com site, they said that. And I was like, I don't think you can claim that to one person. But
Yeah.
okay.
Then we weren't born in 1999. We were born in 1699. That's if the theory was true, if you subtract the 297 years. From 614 AD to about 911 AD, all of that is fabricated. 297 years worth of history, totally fake and 100% not real.